were able to not sleep through it. Yeah, there's if everybody who's hearing the introduction would think in which diverse fields that I've dabbled in, but I can assure you that I consider myself a seeker and a learner and a student always. I don't think that anything can be learned in its totality, at least in this lifetime. So whatever I have picked up, whatever I have learned, whatever I have been blessed by the greats in this field and elders with whatever insights I will try to share in this PPT, and hope I can do justice to an hour of your time here.
Sure. I was just putting up your
Yes.
blog link. So should I start sharing my screen
Yes.
now?
Please, Nidhi, yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Varsha ji, for sharing your YouTube channel link. I will also put it in our WhatsApp group. Yeah. So please give me confirmation about screen sharing and then I can go on mute. Just a moment. Is the PPT visible to everyone? Let me
Yes,
turn
ma'am.
it.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
just a
Visible.
minute. I'll just go on mute and then turn it on full screen. We can begin, Tanya ji.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nidhi ji. So, this is a PPT that I've designed from a paper that I recently presented at the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla, last year. And whatever I have learned, whatever I have taken away from that presentation, I have kind of put it down in brief in this PPT and tried to make sense of why exactly do we need to look at this aspect of governance, which is of course the Panchayati Raj institutions. I'm not going to look into the urban, bodies, the urban local bodies, which are the municipal corporations and municipalities. Mostly, this session is going to be focused on the Panchayati Raj institutions. The democratic ones, the constitutional ones, were set up after the 73rd and 74th Amendment in the early 90s. So that is something which entered constitutionally into the democratic forum. But did we have panchayats? Did we have a system prior to that? How old is it? How did it function? And what is the comparative, differences and similarities between these two versions? Which is, one is the organic, natural, kind of setup of these institutions, and the constitutional one. These two versions, what exactly are the pros and cons? So why look at local governance? Well, first and foremost, I think it's pertinent to look at what Gandhiji had, said, and irrespective of whatever we might see of Gandhiji in light of, partition and other aspects, I think when we look at it from an academic perspective, when we look at it from a perspective that is scholarly, we need to look at the ones that add value to our research, and those other debatable topics are to be kept aside for the moment. But so Gandhiji was very clear that the version of local governance has to be bottom up, has to be village oriented. He talked about a mandal, which is spreading, not which is hierarchical. It keeps spreading, and then it takes everything inside its domain, and they are sufficient within themselves, and there is no hierarchy, or there is no such kind of power dominance that one sees. Everybody puts in a participative effort. That is what the idea of Gandhiji's governance, as well as his educational perspectives were something which need to be read and studied. So those are available in Young India and Harijan, and also in his other writings. There's a combined work of Gandhiji's writings, which is available on the internet freely. I don't know if anybody uh, would be knowing of a particular author called Dharampal. Dharampalji is a very looked up to kind of author who wrote about many Indian issues. He wrote about the education system that was there in the past, and he broke a lot of myths that was spread by the colonial, empire, that we were totally, uneducated, savage people, and we did not have any kind of schools or anything. And the British came up and they set, everything. So he pulled out a lot of archives from the British records, and he proved that we had schools and gurukuls and pathshalas which were so self-sufficient and catered, to the society in a wide way, and produced skilled and intelligent, people, well-rounded, all-rounded people, not just workers. On the other hand, when we talk about the Shudras being denied education, his very book, which is called The Beautiful Tree, he talks about the population of the Shudras being more than the other Varnas in the Pathshalas and the Gurukuls. So he's a very important thinker. He's a very important author in the IKS domain of governance and education. He's also written about the Panchayati system and what it was before. Now, this particular gentleman was very inspired by Gandhiji's vision. So we have a lot of Gandhians who have come out and done phenomenal work, and a lot of rural industries have been set up by very well-meaning people who have left their cushy corporate jobs or businesses and settled in rural areas and set up industries in order to make village people self-sufficient. Anna Hazare is another example, who is a follower of Gandhi also. Swami Vivekanand and Gandhi, both. How he made Ralegaon Siddhi into a self-sufficient, crime-free, village from a totally, degraded, depraved kind of a place. When we look at all these examples, we look at them with a lot of awe, and we say that, this is wonderful work, this is great work, and so on and so forth. But from where are they drawing this inspiration? From where are they getting this idea? From where are they getting motivated, or they're getting passionate about this and making it happen? There is Jhavar Jhavar Lal Jain. He has a book which is called The Enlightened Entrepreneur. It's there on Amazon. Jhavar Lal Jain has now passed out. Bhavar Lal Jain. It's Bhavar Lal Jain. Sorry about that. Yes. Jhavar by Bhavar Lal Jain. That's his name. And he has written The Enlightened Entrepreneur, which is there on Amazon. The other book that I would suggest is from Dholakia ji. Dholakia ji has written Diamonds Are Forever and So Are Morals. Also, there is another person, I think Makran Bhai. I can't remember his last name now. I'm sorry. Yes, sorry about that. Prajapati. Yes. Makaran Prajapati, the one who started Mitti Cool. Nidhi, if I'm getting his first name wrong, but his last name is definitely Prajapati. He started the Mitti Cool, the fridge that is made of clay. I think during the Kargil time, it was, it started, and even in Kargil and all that, it was used. So he was simple village person from Morbi in Gujarat. And what that person has done is phenomenal. Not only environment, ecology, friendly, but any innovation that comes from the village or the local areas has always been ecologically friendly and environmentally very sustainable. So these are a lot of examples that when you look at it and when you try to uh, make sense of it, the only option is that you try to understand what these villages meant at one time. Why does everybody talk about it? Not only Gandhiji, not only many great people like Bal Gangadhar Tilak and many others, Rabindranath Tagore, even great uh, many other great people, but also you see the Britishers praising this system like anything. Mansukh Bhai Prajapati. Yes, thank you, Arpitji. Yes, yes. I heard his lecture once. He's given, here abroad in all the, elite institutions. And what a story. And what is his dream? To set up 1,000 such entrepreneurs like him. And they should all be girls. Can you imagine when uh, a, a person from the grassroots, when they become something, just look at the humility. They don't want to hoard and hog money or become people who enjoy the leisures and all the indulgences. You will always see that they want to do something for their community. They want to make everybody enjoy the same benefits that they have achieved. That is the spirit of people in the village. That's why you see they are always together. Nobody living 3 4 houses that are there in a particular area in a small hamlet, nobody would get something and not want to share with anybody else. If there is a television that comes in one house, they will invite everybody every day at a certain time in the evening to come and watch that, because they do not have. If somebody gets a fridge in their house, they will want, the other people will come and say, can we keep something in it for some time, please? They will happily oblige that, because they believe that we should not deprive the other. You don't get to see this kind of sentiment in the cities today. It still survives in the villages. I think Nidhi ji had visited a tribal area, and she mentioned in the last class that how if somebody does not have enough to celebrate a festival, everybody comes together and gives them some portion of theirs so that they are able to enjoy the festival as others. Nobody in the village enjoys to see any other person sit with a gloomy face while they are enjoying. This is the general tendency of village people. You might call them crude, you might call them whatever they want to say, but they are people who will come first to your help if you are down and out. So yes, why study? So why study local governance? I think I've given the reasons. We need to understand why people are always so charged, to go back. You see the Zoho founder, Sridhar Vembu, he was doing superbly well for himself abroad. He decides to leave everything, come and settle down in a small village in South India and provide employment to the village people there. What motivates these people? What have they read? What have they seen? What do they feel they are doing, and why are they doing this? Is it of no use? Is it of no reason that they are doing this? So that is what my objective of this FDP is, to present to students. I think when everybody, the participants here, when they go to take their classes, they can start off with this introduction and maybe ask this question to the student: why do you think these people do these things? Why do you think everybody talks about all these great people that we have seen in history? They are so fascinated with villages, even the British, even the Mughal people. What is the reason for it? There must be something behind it. So local governance, as we can see, like Gandhiji said then, even now, that India lives in its villages. The soul of India is in its villages. So as of now, we have over 6.5 lakh villages. That is around 65% of the population lives in it. When we compare it to the towns, there are just 8,000 towns and cities. So you can see that there is a great dominance of villages in the overall population and infrastructural setup. of our country. The 65% of India's population depends on the rural economies for survival. Agriculture, allied activities, etc., they produce the largest livelihood source. And they contribute a significant, these rural industries and MSMEs that are based on rural raw products, they contribute a significant percentage to the total output or the GDP. Now we'll take a look at the last point. The 14th Finance Commission allocated around 2,87,436 crore to this to the urban local bodies and the rural local bodies. Out of that, around 2 lakh crore was for the panchayats, 87,000 was for the municipalities. What is the reason for it? The panchayats are still not able to be self-sufficient. The municipalities, to a certain extent, have been able to do that. So that is the reason. Maybe the next slide, can we see, please? Yes. So what is the reason that the government still pumps in so much of money into, and this is not much, it's just about, I think 2 to 3% of the total budget that is given to it. But why does it continue to pump in so much money, and the return to the government, the revenue receipts, etc., that come directly from the panchayats? I think the revenue that the panchayats collect are only 5% of their total budget. 95% they are still dependent on government and state, central and state grants that are given to them. So what is the reason for them to still be 95% dependent on money coming from outside? They're still not able, with so much of population, with so much of skill, with so much of labor, with so much of traditional knowledge that they possess, whether it's handloom, bamboo, Ayurveda, etc. What is the reason that they are not able to be self-sufficient and self-dependent? Why are they still dependent on government grants and doles? This is the sad part of this entire story. And when we look back in history, we see there is a lot of reasons why they are still not dependent. The first reason is that they're still not the complete decision makers in whatever subjects have been allocated to them. So in the state list, local governance comes as a sub item under the state government. The state is still very dominant, the state government, and basically orders them, gives them the directions, what they are supposed to do, what they are not supposed to do. They are not given any freedom out of those 29 items that have been allocated to them under that state list, local governance options. The state still controls a majority of it and tells them what to do. So when you see that you don't have the autonomy, is everybody comfortable with English, or do you want me to intersperse it with Hindi? Okay, so I'll
Okay, English is good with everyone, right?
Yes, ma'am. English is okay.
Yes, ma'am.
ग्रेट, थैंक यू. कभी किसी को बीच में कुछ बोलना है तो आप चैट बॉक्स में प्लीज डालिए, और अगर कुछ क्लैरिफिकेशन चाहिए तो भी आप चैट बॉक्स में डालिए. आई एम मॉनिटरिंग इट. So let's, as I said, we are a closed group, so let's make it more and more like an exchange, a mutual exchange. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. So thank you, Nidhi ji, for that. And thank you for letting me know that this is okay, the language that is being used. So as I said, the main reasons is not giving them the autonomy, either financially or politically or democratically. They are chosen, yes, because that is enjoined upon them, कि आपको 5 साल में election करना ही है आपको. So basically check boxes tick हो रहे हैं, परंतु जो objective है, जो goal है, that is not being fulfilled, which is to let them take their own decisions. The villagers will only know what is best for them and how they, and trust me, they know how to make a group, they know how to function together. There is a lot of friendship. They they only think well for each other. And if you give them an opportunity to tell them how to go about, making a, maybe a tube well, making a road or making a school or making, you just have to see their dedication and determination, as long as they know that they have to do it their way. So this is something which, I think scares the political setup a lot, because they know the unity that exists in villages and they know the kind of brainchild that they have. If it is given to them, you will, all these corporates and modern industries and everything, they will have to say goodbye to a lot of scope, a lot of consumers that they could kind of get. So the main objective is consumerism. You might think it is development. The state might try to fool you by saying that we are developing these rural areas, or हम बिजली भेज रहे हैं, हम ये भेज रहे हैं, वो भेज रहे हैं. Why are you doing everything? Who has asked you to do it? Why do you think you are the only one who has to do it? Why don't you give them a space and forum where you tell them that this is what you will get, but you will have to give this kind of labor and kind of involvement in it. You are giving them actually arms, जिसको भीख कहते हैं इंग्लिश में या भीख कहते हैं हिंदी में, where you, this मनरेगा and everything. What is the reason they are not employed? You just give them 100 days of employment, that doesn't solve the problem. So these kind of policies and these kind of smart cities and urbanization and so on and so forth, ask the village people, do they want to become urban? They're happy in being village people. वो गांव में अपने खुश हैं, उनको नहीं लगता उनका गांव किसी से कम है. Nobody has this fascination. In fact, you see in the US and UK, people are going back to the country life and farm life. They're fed up of this consumerist urban behavior. So you might get convinced that it's development oriented, but actually it is the consumerist, lobbies that know that there is a huge market out here. If we are able to convince them to give up their quote unquote dehati gawar ways of living, which is as per them, and make them buy these products. You stop grinding atta in your village, buy our ready-made atta. You stop doing kachi ghani ka tel, take it out, get our cold pressed oil. You stop doing everything, just keep buying. But where are you getting the money to buy that stuff? So they are trying to create employment which is not natural to a village person, and the village person will never take to it also, because that is not how you do it. So the villagers have certain traditional knowledge, of iron smelting, of arts and handicrafts, of weaving, handloom, of growing certain crops. Even now, if you go and ask a village person, he will know at least 65 varieties of rice, organic, which is from India, not outside. And if you allow him to grow that, you can export and you can earn, at least 100 times more than what you are getting from exporting this basmati and all these rices. So if you ask any villager how to make a certain, iron, smelting product, he will give you amazing. Like I know there's a certain village in Madhya Pradesh called, in Jabalpur, it's called Indrana Gaon. There is a very good, ashram that is set up there. It's called Jivika Ashram. It's basically to give a space to the village people to come and, give them a space and give them the resources to continue their art, continue their, family tradition of certain arts and, skills, which are now going extinct almost. So this is, once these go extinct, you will have nothing unique to offer. I'll give you an example of the particular gentleman who made the Ram Lalla Murti in the Ayodhya temple, uh, Arun Yogi Raj. He was born into a family of traditional murtikars. They carved murtis out of stone, beautiful murtis. It's a dying art now in a particular style, Nagar style, and these other styles. So he got caught up into this thing, and he took a corporate job. He had been well educated, he was earning well, but he was so constantly drawn to this art and craft of his ancestors and tradition that he carries as a soul, carry forward descendant, that at one time he just gave it all up and he went back into his family's karkhana, opened it and started, making statues again and employing people and, teaching them, the village people around, teaching them how to make murtis, how to think. And he goes on to make the statue in the Ram Mandir, the Ayodhya Ram Mandir. And seeing him, many people who are following, who are traditionally coming from that, those families, they feel motivated, they feel great, they want to take it up and go. So no traditional knowledge person hates his family's lineage or skill, or the only reason he gets frustrated is because he doesn't see any avenues that the government has provided for them to, put forward their art and craft. You are getting ready made, statues made from big, construction companies which are not India based. So there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of, lobbying, there's a lot of political will missing in doing whatever our, people excel in. And these very people will be then, and their skill will be taken up by other people, other countries, and they will make use of it. So this is something that we need to understand, that progress doesn't mean this urbanization. Progress means when everybody who's happy with his skill and craft, which makes him confident, which makes him want to carry forward his family's lineage. And the hatred and frustration only comes when you don't provide them avenues for the wonderful skills and crafts, when you don't appreciate it. That is when they feel left out. So this is one of the reasons that, you see that there is always a push from the top. There is never a bottom up kind of willingness from the so-called, democratic constitutional bodies that have been set up. None of the village people are happy with this kind of setup, where a sarpanch who is elected is equivalent in ranking and role and respect to the chief minister and to the prime minister, who is also elected. But what happens is he has to take a begging bowl and stand in front of the bureaucrat who is not elected. He has a tenured job. He is not answerable to people. What kind of dilemma that sarpanch or elected person will have when he has to beg in front of a bureaucrat and listen to his, scorns and taunts when he goes to ask for any development project. If they say that हमारे गांव में हमने हमारे जो ये group of people, we feel that this should be done, the bureaucrat says, who told you to think? Who has given you the right? So it depends upon a very good bureaucrat coming into the village, which happens very rarely, who appreciates their inputs and tells them that, yes, you are an intelligent, group of people, and what do you want? I will make sure it happens. So that rarely happens. And if you find a bureaucrat who is agreeing to what the villagers are suggesting to him, you will very soon find the political class from above not being very happy with that particular bureaucrat. So you keep these people under you, you exploit their vulnerability and innocence, you exploit their nature for, wanting to be at harmony and, So the point I'm trying to make is, what makes a Ralega Siddhi from a crime infested area, from a liquor infested area, to a model village? Does it only take one Anna Hazare to make it into that? Or is it the cooperation and the willingness and the wanting of the villagers, that they want their village to become a model village? You go to any person in Radhika Siddhi and he very proudly says that my village is a model village. So this is what the villagers want. If anybody is behaving badly, anybody is, teasing women or drinking, liquor, anything, you know what they do? They don't go to any police station. They don't go to any thing. If somebody is creating a ruckus, he is caught by the village people, tied to a tree and beaten. And after that, he is left. And then the village people ostracize him until he does not change his ways. And when he changes his ways, they accept him with open arms. So village samaj ka jo, control over people, we undermine it a lot in the name of freedom, privacy, etc., etc., etc. But the point here is that I don't know about cities, but in villages, the Samaj knows very well that what is in the benefit of the entire village. It's a different mentality altogether. There is a particular village in Madhya Pradesh, and there was one in Northeast. I don't know if anybody of you remember during COVID time. None of these remote villages, these two, three, nobody contracted COVID. Nobody, because the village elders and the village people, they all were so, together in this. They did not let anybody enter from outside. They did not let anybody go out from the village. They did not, let anybody create ruckus in the village. And they made sure that everybody, they worked as a team. These so-called uneducated, Dehati, Gawar, remote, uneducated people, how do they manage to not contract COVID? And how does these so-called educated cities are all grust with, this COVID? So that group, that community, thought and community, welfare that is at the mind of everybody. I'll also give an example of a particular report by a gentleman called, I think, I'll share that report in the group. I'm not, his first name is Rahul, and his second name is, I can't seem to, I think it's Chakravarti or something. I'll share that report though. It's a it's an old, very old report, I think around 20 years ago. It's about the Gaunkari system in Goa. So the Gaunkari system is a traditional panchayat setup. When I say traditional, it doesn't mean the 73rd and 74th constitutional panchayats. I'm talking about the panchayats that have always been there, always, since time immemorial. In the Vedas, it's mentioned Gram, Gramani. In the, you see it in the Brahmanas, you see it in the Smritis, you see it in the Shastras, you see it in the Mahabharata, you see it in the Ramayana, being mentioned multiple times. So these traditional panchayats have been set up by certain communities, like the Khaps in Haryana. You see in the south also, there are certain traditional panchayats that are there. So the traditional panchayat system that was there in Goa, which is called the Gaunkari system. So there was this, so the Gaunkaris are a group of elders that have, that take decisions on the behalf of the entire community. And they are called comunidades in the Portuguese language. So they are the original settlers in that particular Goa Union territory. And hereditarily, they are taking care of whatever resources and everything has to be. It was being managed very well. Now comes in the government machinery, and they decide that we have to implement the constitutional democratic panchayat system there. And they start by privatizing resources. It's not community owned, it becomes individual owned. So all those farmers who were working, on the fields, they were all given particular, groups of land. It was auctioned, whoever could buy it, they bought it. And they tried to find out that does this privatization and individualization help in, this democratic setup, help in making the community cooperation better in managing the community resources like lakes, ponds, rivers, water bodies, etc., etc. But what they found after doing this is that after around 2 to 3 years, they found that most of these people who had got the land as private land, they sold it off to somebody, to some industry or the other, or they employed other laborers on the farm, and they were, just enjoying. They had become lazy, and nobody was bothered about preserving the water bodies or anything. They told each other कि you see your own, मतलब आप अपना अपना देखो, आपका अपना प्लॉट हो गया है, आपका अपना वो हो गया है, तो आप अपने आप से देखो. Nobody had any more community feeling that was, remaining there to take care. And as a result, everything broke down. The water bodies were totally, neglected. The community resources were totally, neglected, and the government didn't know what to do. And then they had to ask the Gaon Kari system to take over again. So this is a very important study in whether government, so-called democratic constitutional bodies, they lead to more cooperation amongst people, uh, or do they break down the existing cooperation that was there, the community feeling that was there during the traditional panchayats. You might get convinced by a lot of narratives that come out everywhere. They would try to show you that villages are, crime infested areas. The people of villages are the most savage people that you can come across. They don't know how to handle their own, resources. They don't know how to take care of their women. They don't know how to, so on and so forth, so on, all negative stories. You might choose to believe it, but just ask a person who is from the village, even the woman, they will tell you that we have never seen this kind of village in our life, what is portrayed there. In the similar fashion, you see how Indian icons and a certain community is depicted in Bollywood films. Is that the reality? No, it's not. But it took everybody a very long time to realize that. So this whole propaganda of telling you that villages are the den of savages and everything stupid that is there happens there. This is also one of the arguments of, certain constitution founders who had no idea about villages and how they function and its grand legacy. But I mean, you can choose to believe it. That's totally up to you. But is that reality? Is that something? Better to go and find out. There might be stray incidents. I'm not saying it's perfect, but don't crimes happen in the cities also? So it's very wrong to kind of classify that as as the truth and say that, um, I think it's a very colonial mindset. The colonial Britishers said the same thing about India. They are a bunch of savages. They don't know how to exist. They kill their women. They kill their, children. They are criminal tribes. They are. You tell me what the British have not written in atrocity literature. Was that the story of India? No. Therefore, similarly, we should not adopt a colonial mindset and mentality when we deal with our villages. I think we are becoming more colonial and British in our outlook, where we want to tell the villagers how to behave. But who has given you that right? And then you want to say that you are decolonized. I think that is something that when we are averse to diversity and we think that this is the way to conduct or code to behave, then you are becoming a colonizer by your own. When you don't appreciate people's diversity and how they choose to live their life, what are the good points, what are the and let them reform from within. It should never come from top, even if there is something to be reformed, is what I would like to just put across in whatever readings, writings I have. When you approach a villager with that holier than thou attitude and tell them, that is when they become defensive and they become, very, very offensive in their approach. The moment you respect them and talk to them in their own, and they are the most loving people that you can come across. That's been my experience and other people's experiences who have intensively worked with villagers on the ground and even street vendors in cities, etc., etc. So yeah, that is the background I'd like to give. Nidhi, the next slide, if you can move. Yes. Just a quick, going through what is the evolution of gram or villages in our ancient texts and shastras. So in the Rig Veda, you see, I'm not going into the dating of the Rig Veda. It can be later, it can be even more than this, but the gram was basically like a tribe or a band or a troop that moved together. They were mobile. They could be just a bunch of people. They could be a bunch of herders, shepherds, farmers. They could be warriors. So this grama was like a collective formation, because at that time it was such a non-conducive kind of atmosphere during the Rig Vedic period, where they were trying to make sense of how to go about organized way of living. But you see the mention of grama in the 10th mandala, and and so on and so forth. And it is spoken of in a very respective term, that these have to be taken seriously, these bunch of people, because they somehow have unity and they are able to get decisions in their favor and make very good points. Atharva Veda, you see, during the Atharva Veda period, then we see these grammars, these bunch of mobile, movers settle down into geographical areas, and they move into areas that are more domestic as compared to the forests and other places. Then in the Brahmanas, which is the latter part of the Vedic corpus, you see that leaders emerge from these particular groups or settled group of people. And you see community heads, etc. In the Arthashastra, you see Kautilya. This is in around 323 BC. Villages have now morphed into or become into fiscal admin units. They're providing revenue now, and they are administering their own, own kind of whatever political setup, etc. they have. The Gramik is the village head. The village is the locus point of what social duty or social dharma. It kind of evolves from there or is generated from there. You have village assemblies like the Gram Sabha, Samiti. You have elders who are chosen, selected, and they perform dispute resolution, property issues, social regulations, so on and so forth. You have the Kulpati, who is the head of the Kula. You have the Gramapati, who is the head of the Grama. You have the Shreni or the Seth, who is the head of the guilds, the commercial, organizations. And yes, so these kind of administrative posts you see developing very organically. This is the kind of evolution from the Rig Veda to the Arthashastra that we see happening. Nidhi ji, the next slide, please.
Sure.
Yes, as I mentioned that you see the gram being mentioned in the Manusmriti. So Rishi Manu or King Manu, you can see he's mentioning about what is the territorial, territorial cutout of a gram, of a village. What is the kind of setup that is there? What kind of kulas? So a particular bunch of families, they come and settle together, and they form a kula in a particular village. Many such families settle together, many kulas come together, and they form a village. Then you have the Janpad, which is the town area. So when you have many villages grouped together, like we have in today's times also, many villages come together and you have the block or the taluka level, and then it goes on to the district level. So the Janpad then comes into the town area, which is mostly commercially, where a lot of commerce, where a lot of transaction, where a lot of export import happens. This is the town area. But where you have the villages, they are mostly focusing on self-sufficiency, and they are mostly providing the raw materials for these industries too. You see in Arthashastra, they mention it a lot. So without the villages, these janpads also could not function. So the janpads later on become into a territorial political jurisdiction during the period of the Arthashastra, and then you see the Guptas and everything. Then they become Mahajanpads. So when Janpads group together, you see them becoming into big towns of, trade and everything. That's Manusmriti. And then in Manusmriti, he also tells you that how many how much amount of population should make one village, how much amount of villages should make one block or one taluk, how many of these blocks come together and make a district. Everything is, the terms might be different, but he's talking about the same thing that we see in the setup that we have today. The Ramayana, there is a mention of Gramani, which is the head of the village, the headman. When Sri Ram wins against Ravan, then the Devatas and everybody, they say that he's looking like he's as resplendent as a Gramani. He's looking as great as a village head, which means it must have been a very, very big and respected position. Mahabharat, may you see the same thing where Bhishma is talking to Yudhishthir and telling him about the same thing in Manusmriti, that how are you supposed to divide the population into villages, and villages then set up, and all the hierarchy of the setup, and who reports to who, and so on. And the king is the one who is then taking notes from the district people, and so on and so forth. Arthashastra, I already mentioned, even Kautilya talks about the same thing, and many other texts that you see. You'll also be surprised to know that in the Bible, the book of Exodus, where Moses is taking, the Egyptian people and going to Israel. So his father, Jethro, Moses' father, Jethro, he gives him advice on how he's supposed to set up the same village hierarchy and how to set up a panchayat and a dispute resolution system like we see in our panchayat system, that is mentioned in the text. Jethro is telling Moses the very same thing, the very same political infrastructure and setup. Of course, the Bible comes much later than all these texts that we have. So there would definitely be either an exchange of ideas that has gone all around, or they would have been organic setups like this that came up on their own, which means that this is what the people naturally choose in any place, in any given time. And these are the traditional panchayats, not the government-made panchayats. So this needs to be studied in detail, and that why do people naturally choose this traditional system of panchayats, and why even now many people still go to the khaps, by the way. They choose not to go to the panchayats or the lok adalats or all these things. They don't go to them. They go straight there because वो उनके समाज का पंचायत है. They have chosen elders. They have chosen. They're not elected. It's not a cutthroat, election campaign process where who has more money wins. These traditional panchayats choose their elders on the basis of their conduct. Who has the most knowledge, who is able to resolve disputes very easily, all that has been taken into account. Who has a good conduct, who is a good person, they are then chosen as the elders of the panchayat in traditional panchayat systems, which are still existing in today's day and age. Apart from and there's, like I said, the Gaonkari system. And the government is trying its best to kill these traditional things because they are giving tough competition to this. People are not choosing this democratically elected panchayat because it is nothing, they consider it nothing but a sham which looks down upon them, which tells them what to do, which thinks they are stupid people. And so you see the migration that happens because they are not given the opportunity to become. Even now, the laborers who come here and work in the cities, you ask them on how to perform a certain problem which you are not able to solve, whether it's construction or whether it's farming, they will give you such wonderful ideas that, even you will be surprised, and very eco-friendly, very ecological. So because they're not because of political vendetta, because of political, lack of will, because of certain lobbies that are operating that are not allowing these villages. But how long? How long would you be able to suppress, this kind of? It's not going to lead anywhere. Also, I would like to make a mention here that many people think that Gandhiji was anti-industrialization, and he told that we don't need to industrialize, we don't need to bring machines. That is not the case. I think one should read from the source itself and at least understand what he meant in the first place. He meant to say that when you have so many hands and legs that are already there, we are a labor-intensive, labor-rich people. When you are already having so many hands and legs which can perform the job, what is the need for machines in those places? Because if you are bringing in machines to please certain, lobbies in the West, or certain, get certain cuts from these corporates or these lobbies, then what you're doing is, because of your corruption and selfish purpose, you are killing the very soul of, these your own country. So when these people are not going to get any employment in return, then they are going to take to crime. They are going to, take the wrong lane. They are going, because they don't know what to do. They have to look after. It's just like, the Criminal Tribes Act that the Britishers did. When those tribes were not given employment, when those tribes were not, allowed to perform their own traditional businesses in the forests or in the water bodies, because they wanted to take total control of our natural resources. So how do you displace these people who have been using these natural resources and being self-dependent? What you do is you label them as criminals, because they are going and using the natural resources which the colonial powers want to usurp and make the most money out of it. So you declare them as criminals, so that they are caught at the very moment that they are trying to make a livelihood or living, which they have always done. So the same thing is happening in today's day and age also. You make them so afraid to take any independent decision, and for them it would be a very normal livelihood thing that they are carrying on. But because you have certain corruption and vendetta in your mind, you will immediately arrest them and tell them that now you don't have access to this. So then they will move into cities, they will go somewhere. Now you see the dedication that they still want to earn. These villagers are not becoming criminals and robbing people, by the way. कुछ कुछ होते होंगे, exceptions are there, but look at the dedication. They want दो वक्त की रोटी इज्जत से मेहनत करके कमाएंगे. तो गांधी जी said the same thing, that मशीन्स आप उतना ही लाओ, इंडस्ट्रीज आप उतना ही सेटअप करो जहां पर आपके अपने लोगों को उसका जो है हानि ना हो. They don't become unemployed, because if you are not able to give them employment by bringing in these industries and machines, then it's sheer stupidity. So that was Gandhi's vision, and he was not against any industrialization or machine. He said that take decisions which are in the आपके country के हित में हो, आपके country के लोगों के हित में हो. When the majority of the population is in labor intensive thing, you cannot displace them and bring in machines and industries because you want to put in less money and you want things to come out uniform way. इनके पास कितना art है, कितना वो है, unique चीजें बनाते हैं. But that is not a good economic decision according to Gandhi. That was as simple his theory as I can put it across. One can read about it more in his writings. So this is the first day, kind of thoughts that I had in mind that I wanted to share with you. I hope it made sense to everybody. We will explore this in the other 5 days to come in more detail. But if any questions, queries, something you felt was missing, something that can be added or something you like, please feel free.
Thank you so much, Tanya ji. I think it was an excellent session where you have laid down the backdrop of the entire coming 5 days, the sessions that we are going to have for the next 5 days, how the village is the backbone of Indian economy, Indian society, Indian heritage, culture, and civilization. Why is the village at the central? It is the nodal point of our existence. What are some references in our ancient texts that we can go back to as far as the constitution of traditional villages was concerned? I think ये बात सही है कि जब विलेज की बात हम आज कर रहे हैं तो आज का विलेज या आज के पंचायत के बारे में हम सोचेंगे, पर हमारे एंशियंट टाइम में ये कैसा था इसके बारे में भी जानना जरूरी है. सो द रेफरेंसेस टू आवर एंशियंट टेक्स्ट एंड द वे द रोल ऑफ the village and the people who inhabit the village has been explained, I think it will be interesting to kind of go back to these sources. I was thinking of the movie Kantara as you were speaking towards the end. I think that is a very well-made movie on how the modern colonized bureaucratic setup, all kinds of colonized institutions try to snatch away the heritage of the villagers. So we have few comments. Okay, there were some books. I think I will put it in the WhatsApp group. Sri Dharampal ji's book, The Beautiful Tree. Arpit ji has shared the link of Mansukh Bhai Prajapati's Mitti Cool, the Enlightened Entrepreneur. These are some links that we can share. There's a comment by Hemangi ji, which I would just read. Political ideologies are overpowering the local control for realizing the problems in village and equally localized solution to it. Rule of thumb doesn't work here. Thank you, Hemangi ji. Jyotirani Devi, I believe she is from the northeast of India. She says that whatever you said was relatable in the context of northeast, whether it is about agriculture, skill, craft, or other indigenous skills. Yes, Varsha ji, do you want to come in? I think she's mentioned some work.
Yes, I have mentioned one book written by Sant Tukaroji Maharaj. He belonged to Maharashtra, but he had done great job for the village and the villagers. And his Gram Gita is very famous, in which he has written so many things about how the villages can help to develop India. He was called as Rashtra Sant Tukaroji Maharaj. He worked during the China-Indo War also.
Yes, I think there's a university also named after him. In
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Nagpur University.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's great.
Yes,
That's
yes.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Great. At least that part of our heritage is still intact, thankfully. Like my university is named after our great Maharaja Sayaji Rao Gaikwad.
Yes.
Thank you, Varsha ji. Varsha ji, yeah, if you have the link of this book, Varsha ji, you can, if you have, yeah, okay,
No,
great.
I didn't have it. Just I recalled that when she was speaking about the villages, so that I have read that Gram Gita. In the same way, I think Gita Rahasya also is there, by Lokmanya Tilak.
Right. I think Arpit ji, thank you so much. You are providing all the useful and relevant links for us. So thank you. Arpit ji has, I'll just copy paste the link because all these resources need to be collated at the end of all our 6 sessions. I'm sorry. Arpit ji has requested for online link to read paper link to this PPT. I think you mentioned about
that hasn't been published as of now, but I just submitted it last year. They asked for the paper again in June, so once it's out, I'll share it with Nidhi ji for sure.
Yeah, is it going to be published in Summerhill, the Journal of Indian Institute of Advanced Studies?
Yes, I think they are still deciding that. I have no whether it's going to be that or it's going to be something else, or they're going to publish it as a standalone book of all the papers. So as an anthology, I have that's still being worked out, but I'll keep you posted on it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Arpit ji, as soon as the paper is published, because until the paper is published, it's not ethically, academically correct to share it in the public domain. Only after publication that is possible. Okay, Yogita ji, you had raised your hand in between. Did you have a question? Yogita Bansal ji?
No, ma'am. It was by mistake.
No problem. No problem. Great. So I was just to round up and close the discussion for today. And of course, before we close, I'll be requesting Tanya ji to share any relevant links with me. I will be compiling all of them in a Word document, and you will receive it from our team once the FDP is done and when we distribute the certificates over email. So I was just speaking to my theater teacher today evening before the FDP began. I had gone to meet him and we were discussing about folk art and folklore and folk culture, and he said a very pertinent thing. He said के हम जो urban लोग हैं, city के लोग हैं, of course there are many advantages of living in an urban setup. उन्होंने कहा कि जो हमारी लोक कथाएं हैं, लोक प्रणाली है, लोक परंपराएं हैं, उसके लिए जो संस्कार की जरूरत है वो अर्बन लोगों में नहीं होते हैं. Of course, he is a veteran theatre professor. He is a veteran theatre artist and director in Gujarat. And he told me that when you have to perform or write about these folklores, when you have to put them on stage, you need those samskaras also. You can't just go and spend some little time, do some field work in a village and expect that उनका जो ट्रेडिशन है, जो वो जनरेशन से पीढ़ियों दर पीढ़ी चलाते आ रहे हैं, वो आपको थोड़े से महीने के, 2 महीने के, साल भर के फील्ड वर्क से आ जाएगा. एंड देन यू माइट मेक सम मिस्टेक इन रिप्रेजेंटिंग दैट. एंड आई फाउंड इट टू बी वेरी ट्रू बिकॉज लास्ट ईयर एंड अ हाफ I did some field work in the tribal belt in central Gujarat, and I met some traditional storytellers for whom this was storytelling in that tribal tradition was a part of their lives. It was who they are. उनको किसी ने वो सिखाया नहीं था, कोई स्कूल में नहीं गए थे, कोई ट्रेनिंग नहीं ली थी, कोई सर्टिफिकेट कोर्स नहीं किया था. सिर्फ वो उनकी जो है, उनके जो संस्कार है, उनको जो उनके पूर्वजों ने और उनके एल्डर्स ने दिया है, वो उससे वो ट्रेडिशन चला रहा है. So yes, we would encourage you to share more such interesting insights in the coming sessions. And just a quick recap, we started with understanding the significance of studying local governance. We went on to understanding the significance of the village as a center point in the body politic of India, and then some references to ancient texts, our knowledge repositories, our Indic scriptures, Sanatan scriptures, in which we find a mention about an explanation and discussion about the role of village and its inhabitants. So if there is no question, we would like to close.
निधि मैम मैं एक चीज कहना चाहूंगी. माई सेल्फ डॉक्टर पूनम गौर. मैं एक चीज कहना चाहूंगी कि जैसे अभी आपने बताया कि जो फोक आर्ट्स है या जो फोक स्टोरी टेलर्स हैं, जो विलेजेस में रहते हैं, मैं मानती हूँ कि उनकी अपनी एक संस्कृति है, एक परंपरा है जो शुरू से चली आ रही है, और वो अपने बच्चों को फिर वो पीढ़ी जिसे वो देते जाते हैं अपने जनरेशंस को और सिखाते जाते हैं. बट ये कहना कि थोड़ा सा मैं इससे आपसे थोड़ा सा मेरा पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू ना डिफरेंट है कि अर्बन वाले बच्चों को हम वो नहीं दे सकते, हम उनको दे सकते. जैसे पहले क्या होता था, पहले जो पेरेंट्स ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स हमारे जो बच्चों के साथ रहते थे, वो उनको कहानियां सुनाते थे और वो उनको बताते थे कि कैसे पंचतंत्र की कहानियों में कैसे होता है, तेलानी रामा की कहानियों में कैसे होता है. अब जैसे मेरे फादर इन लॉ थे, वो मेरे बेटे को सुनाते थे कि राम की कहानी है, महाभारत की कहानी है, उसको पंचतंत्र की कथाएं दिखाते थे, सुनाते थे. तो क्या होता है कि हम भी अपने बच्चों में कल्चर डाल सकते हैं. वैसे ही काम करते हुए भी, नौकरी करते हुए भी, अगर हम देखिए, क्वालिटी टाइम जरूरी होता है, क्वांटिटी ऑफ टाइम जरूरी नहीं होता, क्वालिटी ऑफ टाइम जरूरी. तो हम अर्बन वाले बच्चों में भी हम अपने, अगर हमारे बच्चे हैं, घरों में रहते हैं और पेरेंट्स वर्किंग है, क्वालिटी ऑफ टाइम ये कि 1 घंटा है, 2 घंटा है, उसमें उनके अंदर हम वो संस्कार डाल सकते हैं. क्यों आप मेरी बात से सहमत है या नहीं सहमत?
बिल्कुल पूनम जी, धन्यवाद, आपने अपना पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू रखा. एक्चुअली जो मैं कह रही थी वो मेरी बात नहीं थी, मेरे जो टीचर हैं,
मैं समझ गई, आपके टीचर ने आपसे बोला था कि अर्बन के, तो वो इससे मैं थोड़ा सा ना, मेरा पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू थोड़ा डिफरेंट है इस चीज में कि अर्बन वालों में ये चीजें नहीं है. आप अर्बनाइज्ड एरियाज में भी बहुत सारे बच्चे ऐसे हैं जो कि जानते हैं, करते हैं. आजकल डिजिटल हो गया है, तो वो डिजिटली उन चीजों को एक्वायर करते हैं, नॉलेज एक्वायर करते हैं. तो मैं थोड़ा सा लिटिल बिट मैं यहाँ से, ठीक है, वेस्टर्नाइज्ड है, हमारे बच्चे पब्लिक स्कूलों में पढ़ते हैं, इंग्लिश बोलते हैं.
एक ही मिनट में क्विकली रिस्पॉन्ड कर देती हूँ. जिस संदर्भ में ये बात हुई वो बहुत ही स्पेसिफिक संदर्भ था, थिएटर का संदर्भ था. अब जब आप किसी फोक आर्ट को स्टेज पे प्रेजेंट करते हैं तो आप कर सकते हैं. मेरे जो टीचर, उन्होंने खुद गुजरात की जो आदिवासी परंपरा से
ठीक बोल रहे हैं आप,
उन पर काम किया, बट वो कहते हैं कि जो जो अंदर से आना चाहिए, जो संस्कार उनके पास है, क्योंकि ये उनकी परंपरा
I
है।
think,
वो
I think
बात
the
हो गया,
point
वो
is,
सही।
yes, Poonam ji, the point is learning about it second hand and the lived experience.
Yeah. Second
These
hand
are,
lived.
yes, these
But
are,
but
these
but
are,
but this is, I'm talking about, you can say second hand. The way we are teaching
yes,
our children.
nobody is denying that, Poonam ji. We
Yeah.
completely agree.
Yeah.
But the point that we're trying to make is the soul that comes
Yeah.
from
The soul
lived
it comes. Yeah.
experience. Yes, the lived experiences are what.
Yeah. I'm understand. Just I want to say that I'm little bit different. I have different view over. That's why I'm telling you.
Yes,
नहीं,
and
बहुत अच्छा
yes,
किया पूनम जी, हम ऐसे ही डिस्कशन चर्चा करते रहे और एक्सचेंज करते रहे आइडियाज। आप जो कह रही हूँ मैं बिल्कुल उससे सहमत हूँ, 100% सहमत हूँ। और मुझे भी
Thank you.
लगता है कि अर्बन बच्चों को भी वो अवसर मिलना चाहिए कि वो ये सब
हाँ।
एक्सपीरियंस कर सके, भले ही वो सेकंड हैंड सोर्सेस से हो।
हाँ, बिल्कुल ठीक।
इससे क्या होगा कि वो अपने संस्कृति संस्कार से जुड़े तो रहेंगे।
हाँ।
जो हमारा मेन मोटिव है।
हाँ।
मेरे जो टीचर कह रहे थे वो थोड़ा बहुत ही थिएटर के संदर्भ में, क्योंकि वो थिएटर करते हैं आदिवासी लोगों के साथ, वनवासी लोगों के साथ, तो उनको जो दिक्कत होती है कि जो परंपराएं उनके अंदर सींची हुई है, उस पर थिएटर करना
तो है
उनके लिए थोड़ा सा मुश्किल हो जाता है।
वो मैं बात समझती हूँ।
can I intervene one thing here? Second hand